Receive any comments from the public? Receive any president and director's comments? Okay. Consider an act on any request for adjustments or relief from specific charges imposed by the district. I assume there are none because I don't, okay. We have the consent agenda in front of us. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda, or are there something you would like to have removed from the consent agenda?
Not removed, but just
Corrected?
wanted to just, if we go to page 3, item 12, I think the last sentence on that item in the minutes is a repeat of the last sentence in the previous item. It says the board agreed to reconvene, finalize the decision matrix.
You're right, it is.
See what I mean?
Yeah, okay.
Just that sentence just needs to be Xed out.
Okay,
That's
so with
all.
that correction, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Do I have a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Moving on. Review and consider approval of district's fiscal 2023-2024 draft audit report. Thought I recognized you.
How are y'all doing?
Good. Hey.
Thank you.
I've been spending a little more time with the board this year, kind of going through the report. Happy to do that, but we've got a veteran board here to talk to y'all. We can talk about, I can give you the short song and dance or the long song.
I think the short spot answer be good.
Like the short, okay. Okay, well, everything went well. We had a good audit. We recently, your original audit that you received, if you did, the TSI 8, what with the board members wasn't updated. It's now current. Not a lot to report. Other than that, we successful audit, no material weaknesses, no management comments, no arguments with staff. Everybody did well. Attorneys were still reviewing it. We're still gonna do a little more review. Our goal is to get it to TCEQ mid-February. We'll finalize it end of January. So if y'all have time, if you see anything misspelled, let us know. Get it in there. So we're just looking for approval subject to any minor modifications we make.
Do I have that motion? So moved. Do I have a second?
Okay.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Grant exemptions from taxation for 2025 and the adoption of a resolution in connection therewith.
All right, you've got the draft resolution in your packet. We did leave a blank there for the over 65 and disabled. You can see on the following page, there is a there's a chart with as what you did last year, which was $10,000 for over 65 and disabled. If you want to keep that, you can consider a motion to adopt a resolution with the 10,000 over 65 and disabled and 20% residential homestead exemption. And I'll want to consider changing your over 65, then this would be the time to discuss that.
Discussion?
My only comment is last month we approved $404,240 for retail wastewater collection system rehabilitation, which will chunk in this year. That's a boatload of money. Don't feel it'll be fiscally safe, shall we say, to change that over 65 disabled at this point.
I agree.
I mean, we are, Mud 6 has the highest by far.
Exactly.
Mud 6 has the highest by far.
Exactly.
Did you compare with the other muds?
Yeah.
Right.
I didn't see Mud 36 in this document.
It is. Oh, not, oh, in that document. I'm looking at the page 30.
Yeah. Oh, no, I'm going to go back. The money,
Mm.
the
Okay.
Is it
I don't know what document you're talking about.
Not neither.
the one that was in the,
I'm not familiar with it.
You talking about this spreadsheet now?
Disabled.
The,
No, you've got-
I'm saying, he's got another document, but
there was
Oh,
a,
this is the sanitary sewer project.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no, they're not in phase two.
Okay, okay.
They weren't in phase two or phase three.
Ah,
Excuse me, they weren't in phase one or phase two. They're planning to be in phase three, which is under design now.
they got it.
They came into some surplus monies that will allow them to do some stuff.
Okay. Yeah, I was, just looking at these numbers, and thinking about, okay, which way should we go with the taxation? I'm thinking that,
So do I have a motion then to leave it at the 10,065?
And keep the 20%.
and the 20%, yeah.
And I'm sorry, yes, and the 20. Okay, all those in favor?
Did we have a second?
Yeah,
yes.
first and a second. Or first is, one of you guys did it.
Aaron proposed,
Pardon? Okay.
And- Pat, did you second?
I believe Ron
Oh,
did.
okay,
Ron?
Okay.
Okay.
sorry,
That was the previous one. Okay.
you're right. I got sidetracked there. My apologies. Receive the regular monthly SJ, oh,
We have to
well,
vote.
I thought I said call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
She said aye.
Okay,
Okay.
okay. I had a real moment there then.
It's the new year.
I got too much on my mind. No.
Okay.
Receive the regular monthly SJR Woodlands Division report, including updates on operations, projects, and public outreach.
I think the report is in your packet. If there's any questions that you have, I'll be happy to share them. I did get word that Chris was sick yesterday
No, that's not good.
and I know Ed's out of town, so I don't know if Chris is back or feeling well. I'm not sure.
Well, I'll just want to ask about page 43, the pie charts.
If I can answer it, I will help. I will try.
Okay, monthly groundwater usage, you would think that would be a volume, but somehow the units seems to be mixed up. There's little percentage signs after each number. Not for both of them. And for the next pie chart over, something has to be revised there to fix that.
I'm not saying,
Like if you look at the upper pie chart on page 43,
okay? Yeah.
and I know the font is microscopic, but right after the numbers, there's a percent sign, not a volume, like a gallons. I was looking for gallons.
Yeah, that volume is the percent of total.
So the 338,000 is 11% of the volume.
It's 11% of the overall volume. Correct.
I read it.
That's the way I read it.
Where is the? Okay, all right, maybe we need to change the heading. Okay, all right, never mind.
Are you okay?
Oh, I'm just troubled.
Okay, you're right. That was too general. So let me think. Are you okay with the schedule as it is right now?
The what?
Are you okay with the pie charts as it is as they are right now? Or do you
Yeah.
But that actual volume.
suggest that they do something
Well,
with them?
no, look,
My
just
question.
normally when I see a percentage, it wouldn't have a colossal number of places in front of the percentage sign.
Well, it's,
Data
but it's,
labels are a little funky.
okay.
I
I would have, I guess I read it as 332,330, whatever, is 11% of the overall total.
Yeah, they can put it in parentheses instead of a comma.
yeah.
Because that's what it is. Normally you would be presented as.
well, maybe the font could be enlarged a little bit, but like to make it legible.
Well, they might have a hard time doing that with the size of the scale on going on to an 8.5, 11 piece of paper. Just saying.
I think there's margins top and bottom that could be just.
Okay, so
Well, I'm putting my public education committee hat on,
okay,
so.
we might make a suggestion that they change the font on this schedule.
Do it.
Okay, there you go.
Eric, maybe anything, on the purchase and contracted services line item on the actual budget comparison,
What page?
35 through 2 months, fairly significant variance in budget, but then also then it was interesting how much was booked in September versus October. Any info on that line item?
I do not at the top, at this time. I'd have to ask them.
Yeah.
Would you repeat your question, Aaron?
Purchasing contracted services through 2 months, there's a very significant overage to the budgeted expense, but also when you look at how much was actually booked in September versus October through 2 months, it's pretty far off.
Everything's squared away with all the accounting at SGRA now, right? Well, didn't they have issues?
There was some issues, you're
Yeah.
right, with
So-
their,
Could that be part
I
of
think-
it?
Don't have financials on,
Yeah.
right, so I
Yeah,
think that,
like there, it was a catch up,
right?
bigger
But it's
than
still
that
good.
particular month, but the
Yeah.
the overall is pretty close.
I remember there being some issues there.
Yeah, because the variance is 286.
Yeah, sometimes it's
Until
where
the-
the purchase fell.
Yeah.
Was
Right.
Yeah.
things like that. all
Yeah.
went on.
Any report?
So the legislative session started yesterday, as y'all know, and Justin Burrows of Lubbock did win the speaker position. It was 85 to 55, something like that. So, yeah, 85 to 55. So now they're going through the process of assigning committee chairmanships, which are necessary for the plumbing of the legislative process. You have to have hearings and what have you. You can't have that to populate the committees. So that's all going on now. And we'll monitor the session as usual. I'm sure it will be another eventful session as always. That's all I have in the general attorney's report. Happy to answer questions if you have them.
So they're coming into the legislative session with a $24 billion budget. There's some talk about doing some legislation regarding water projects. Are you familiar with that?
Heard the discussion, but I mean, where that ultimately ends up,
Yeah.
there's a lot of competing, interests for how some of that gets spent. You hear about school vouchers, you hear about some of the infrastructure projects. Too early to tell how it shakes out.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's just day 2, right? Yeah.
5 months.
Oh, man.
Okay, I do need to discuss item 17 with y'all as well, if you want me to go ahead and cover that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So there's a memo in your packet regarding POS or Forever Chemicals. The short version is that all the Woodlands muds receive finished water from the River Authority. We don't separately treat groundwater or surface water in district facilities before delivering that water to our customers. So what that means is that all the Forever Chemical testing requirements are going to be the responsibility of the River Authority, not the individual muds. So our recommendation to the boards is to direct Eric to coordinate with River Authority staff to make sure that that monitoring is completed as required by the EPA regulations and that the board is kept apprised of, any monitoring results that would require remediation or treatment to reduce the levels under the limits that were set by the EPA regulations. And that's really all that we need to do at this point.
Just a discussion.
Correct.
No concerns given that direction.
It's good.
All right. Thank you very much.
General Manager's report?
All right, just a couple of things to note. We have been running the ditches across the woodlands to capture the assets, capture the piping, the ditch condition, any failed pipe, things like that. And so we're building that into our GIS database, which will ultimately lead to us developing a capital improvement project plan, which will allow the MUDs to essentially identify, what they need to do when. So we're kind of capturing it as point of interest or near future or immediate kind of, we're categorizing it as, in that, general nature. And then that will kind of help us dictate how we get things done. So can we do it over a couple of years? Is there too many immediates that we have a budgeting problem? We'll have to sort through those types of things. So all in all, this is pretty good. What I anticipated last year when we put these items in the budget, for this year, was exactly now what we're seeing, which is, that backslop interceptor piping and storm sewer outfalls. Those pipes are made out of CMP, corrugated metal pipe, and they are over 25, 30, 40 years. They basically disintegrate, rust and disintegrate in that water environment. And when they do, they bring soil in, you have collapses, etc. In some of the older ditches, we are seeing another phenomenon where just over 50 years, the trees have just continually grew from, the right of way line or from the back lot of the houses a lot of times, and just continue to grow into and encroaching into, the drive of the top berm of the ditches, which is where you would, access it from. So we're gonna need to do some pretty extensive clearing to push that foliage back, and then build maintenance going forward into keeping it back a little bit more aggressively going forward. But all in all, the ditches, they're flowing. They look good for the most part. There's some minor siltation from here and there, but nothing that prevents the operability of the facilities. So, we're doing that right now.
Eric, what was the alternative to using corrugated iron pipe?
Well, back in the day, that was mandated. So
Oh, I see. Okay.
and that was the common type of pipe. So the design criteria would dictate that, for instance, in a subdivision in the streets, and again, not for open ditch type of drainage, which I know some of the Woodlands is, but on a curb and gutter type of street where not subdivision, where you're going to have underground pipe under the street, you're going to have gutters that go into a pipe. That pipe is generally going to be concrete.
Right.
RCP, reinforced concrete pipe. That'll work its way, get bigger, gather more as it goes down the line, and it eventually will empty into a ditch or an outfall. It'll come into a manhole, the very last manhole, and then it will turn and align right into the ditch. That last piece of pipe,
Okay.
which is basically what we're talking about here, was the design criteria was that it be corrugated metal.
Correct. Okay.
When we go in and replace them, we're using HDPE. So we're using
Oh, right.
high density polyethylene pipe. And then we're doing slope paving right on the interface into the ditch. And so that's the normal procedure that we've been doing for a while.
Okay.
So each one of those, depending on how deep the ditch is, you could be looking at $15,000 to $30,000 per, depending on how much pipe, what size, how deep, those types of how much slope paving, that type of deal.
Okay.
But we'll be putting all that together as we go through this.
All right. Thanks.
And then did want to give you an update. The trustees did vote to nominate me to be on the GRP committee. I've gone through an orientation. The first meeting will be January 21st. And as I promised, I've reached out to Brad, the other candidate, to bring him into the loop on how we're going to approach this. So I will continue to do that. And then what I'm looking at doing is adding into the general manager report for the trustee meeting a brief summary monthly on what we're doing, what's going on at the committee level. And then that will get in the trustee packet and then in your report. So you get to see that each month as time goes on. And I want to remind everybody the AWD Midwinter Conference is in a couple weeks, January 24th and 5th, Friday and Saturday in Austin. So if you're going, I hope to see you. We'll be there. And with that, John, kick it over to John for communication.
Good afternoon. Your January communication report starts on page 65. I wanted to update you on a couple things with infrastructure renewal. So I think we had an excellent start to things as far as the community working group is involved. So the community working group held their first meeting beginning of December, it was the 2nd. So that working group is a body comprised of MUD directors, VA representatives, Howard Hughes, the business community, elected officials, and so forth. And their intent is to be a bridge to the community, right? So they're bringing forward input from the community, questions, comments about infrastructure, and we're using that group to help disperse information back out to the community. It's a two-way process. We're holding our second meeting on the 5th of February, Wednesday the 5th. And we'll be talking, amongst other things, about funding, helping get everyone up to speed on how funding for these types of projects can work. And then also new with the infrastructure renewal website are the project cut sheets, we call them. These are short descriptors of each of the individual projects that are ongoing now, the SRA projects at least, surrounding renewal, and project description, what phase it's in, funding source, and so forth. And we'll keep those updated. So it's a great place to send folks to get more specific information on a project. And then we'll be adding the MUD level project to that here shortly. So it is January. That means it's annual report time.
Yes.
Right. So this is what you did last year. And so we're going to use this as a template again this year. Just update this, and we will send this out to the updated one with the February bill. So that will go out at the end of February. So what we need to do is get the new report finalized and approved by the next board meeting. And then we can get that to the printer, go out with that February bill. We also sent it out electronically last year. And then we pointed to it through social media and all kinds of places to really make hay of it. We did make good hay of it. We saw more than a doubling of your website, your MUD page visitation in the weeks following the distribution of that report. We had a open rate on your emails in the high 60s, which was excellent. So if folks want this information, they read it, they respond to it. So it's a worthy endeavor. So what we need to do is just, I guess, identify. Last year, I worked with one of you on, get it back and forth, get the bullets updated. So I guess just need to identify someone to work with me this year. Ian, was it? Yeah. Okay. You want to do it again?
I have my hand up.
Here.
Before you go on.
Yeah.
This is an extraordinary statistic I'm looking at. On page 66. 16,800 contact, 71% open rate versus a 37% industry average.
37% above.
I mean, it's above industry average.
Yeah, I think we've climbed a couple percentage points too.
Really?
Yeah,
Extraordinary.
yeah, people are really responding to it. It's been a nice tool for us.
That's great.
Remember that also, it's a nice efficiency for us as well, because the material that we create for that piece then goes out through our various social media channels. So we have consistent messaging across all our channels, but we don't have to recreate it 5 times. So it's, that's a real nice tool for us. Yeah. So back to the annual, so Neil, you and I will work on that. So however you want to get input from the group on those bullet points.
Send one of your comments on the updates to me. And if you would do that. Let's see, what's your timing now? Probably by the end of the month to get this.
When did the-
I'd like to have it in good shape by the next board meeting.
Yeah,
To approve.
Yeah.
When did the
so-
February bills go out?
In the February.
In February. So we got 6
Oh,
weeks. We've got 6
Oh,
weeks.
I'm thinking February. If the bills will go out from February, it should be going out like, I don't know, next week or so.
March 1, basically.
Okay,
Yeah.
there you go.
Yeah.
Now that makes more sense.
Okay, so that gives you some breathing room.
Yeah.
We have a
Yeah.
good close to final draft. At the next board meeting, you open finalize it, and then
Yeah.
that'll be.
Okay,
Perfect.
There we go.
Okay.
work on that timetable.
I'll shoot you an email with electronic file attached. course, you can always find these, they live year round, on your mud page as well. And, actually, I need to circle back to, oh, no, okay. We are good. So, I'm circling back to the community working group. So Pat, you're the backup to Neil on that community working group is what I have.
Eric,
Me.
Deborah. Who is it?
Oh, I'm sorry, to Deborah, excuse me, I'm sorry. Deborah, you're the primary. Yes, I apologize. Pat, you're the
Oh,
alternate.
okay.
Okay. All right, so we got
It's just
that.
that we're all in the same
Okay, good.
Pat, right?
organization. So
Yeah.
there's crossovers.
And then, lastly, I had a request to just get an update, from Howard Hughes on the work that's going on in the area. So, Marshall's here to talk about that.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Yeah, so Eric had reached out and said that there was some questions with regards to some of our commercial development signs and what was going to be going where. To be honest, I don't know. I know the sign is there. I know that it's platted commercial, but our commercial folks and our strategic folks go through a very extensive process of evaluating potential suitors, for those sites. Those signs that you see are either deteriorated over time, been replaced, or they just never made their way to those commercial tracks to begin with, and now they're there. So the unfortunate short answer is, I don't know. And I can keep tabs with those folks, and as things come down the pipe that we were able to share publicly, then I'm happy to do that here as that information becomes available. But those commercial signs are, at this time, they strictly denote just a commercial track.
Marshall, where those signs are right now, the concern from some of the neighbors has been commercial, number one. And who really owns that property? Is it Howard Hughes or is
Yes.
it actually the Hilton Complex who operates the resort out there? And I told them, as far as I'm concerned, it's a handoff from Village Development Corporation to Howard Hughes, and that's where it's still
Yes.
commercial development.
Yes, yeah, it's still owned by Howard Hughes.
Thank you.
Yeah, and we did have some other conversations with Jim Carmen unrelated, but he mentioned that property specifically, that there's not any current conversations or development plans for the property at North Milton and Grogan's Mill. It is, it could certainly be a commercial development in the future, which it's always kind of been slated to be, but nothing on the radar.
Yeah, one time they were talking about putting an over 55 little section there.
Yeah, that was back Village Development Corporation days.
So he was comfortable with that being public too.
Concern is the trees, right? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, but a lot of that's parking lot. You
It's
go
all-
back in,
that-
I mean,
that area is-
it's just outlined with trees, but most of it's all parking
A lot
lot.
of acreage back there.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
And you've also got the 3 Exxon buildings which were taken down then too, which I think is back to to Howard Hughes as well then too. And they were talking about condos along pole number 18 on the north course, but that just sits too as well.
Yeah, I had heard some grumblings about that over the years, but nothing ever came to fruition, so,
Yeah, not surprised.
yeah.
And I think the concern the neighbors would have would be increased traffic
Oh,
coming to
my
the area.
gosh, yes.
Just like eventually Riva Row, when it's completed, it's gonna really throw a lot of traffic at Grogan's Mill too.
Well, in that development there on Lake Woodlands, across from Whole
Oh, the,
Foods with the
Ritz
Ritz
Carlton?
Carlton thing.
Yeah.
Oh, man, that's gonna be a nightmare with that traffic through there. Just saying. Thank you very much. Any
Absolutely.
questions?
Okay.
Anything else?
Thank you.
Take care.
Trustees report?
Okay, page 69 and 70. Two of the important things, the asbestos cement waterline condition assessment project is underway. And there was a memorandum starting on page 49, describing 2 phases. And then there are 2 maps, pages 51 and 52. So page 51 shows the locations of the assessment, 2 different methods, acoustic testing and physical sampling. And then there's a more widespread testing effort, especially for physical samples, like another 25 sampling locations there, as well as the acoustic testing. Now, the trustees voted for the use of $200,000 of R&R funds to ensure that there was also testing of the concrete comprising the structures in wastewater treatment facility number 1. They were unable to give a true condition assessment without having to actually sample and test the concrete to see what level of deterioration has occurred. So they're the two big, at least from my perspective, the two big takeaways. Does anyone have any questions about any part of the trustee?
So the 200,000 is just for the testing?
Yeah, there's,
And related items. So, SRA is gonna have to take the tanks down, make arrangements to still process the flow while the tanks are down and being tested. So a little bit of that. And then my understanding is there's also some additional, for there to be more meetings for the MUDs, for the consultant to be before the MUDs. We might have an all MUDs or something like that in the future.
And is there any exposure to anybody working on that, to the asbestos? I mean, I don't, you see all the,
not at the wastewater treatment facility.
no, but whoever's working on tearing it
Well,
out.
they're
and everything.
supposed to follow,
Okay.
for that part of it.
I'm
all
just
reg
asking.
concern.
Yeah, on the water line, on the destructive testing is where we come into play.
Yeah.
There's very strict rules on how to
Yeah.
handle the pipe as you're cutting it and all that. Because asbestos is dangerous when it's airborne.
Right.
And
Right.
so, yeah, there's definitely, they will have the appropriate, safety measures in place.
And the presentation from Corolla was included in the packet, which if you want more information on what they're going to be doing, it's in there. And as far as I could see, there was no impact to the timetable. That's for Corolla to be reporting their recommendations in May, I believe. Is that correct?
Yes, and that packet is here. If you didn't get a copy, I'd recommend you grabbing it.
Yeah.
It's a copy of the PowerPoint presentation that they gave.
Talk about this.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
blueprint.
It would be nice if there was some sort of summary.
Yeah, it's a little,
It's a little overwhelming.
Yeah, well, so essentially that's what Neil was kind of talking about is they went in as they're doing their analysis and they've identified through the visual look at the structures. They have enough concern that they believe it'd be in the best interest to have some additional destructive and non-destructive testing of the structural components of the plant. Because ultimately, you can change pumps out, fix metal and things like that, but you can't attach it to a wall that's falling down. Being overly, but I'm just saying. So they gotta identify, they want to gather some more data to be able to identify the true remaining life expectancy of those facilities. Their response was, we'd like to get some more testing. So that's ultimately what all that says.
So you can get a sense of what's happening if you look at lift station 1, that's in the facility, and lift station 2, deterioration of the concrete, but you've got to really get in there and do it. What it also includes rehabbing wherever the samples will be taken. And I had a question, if you wouldn't mind asking SDRA, would this be an opportunity when the tanks are emptied out for them to do any remediation of something they see that, like for example, the bubblers, the aeration devices in aeration basin 3?
Possibly, I'd have to see where it is on their maintenance schedule.
Yes.
Because typically the maintenance schedule on replacing the diffusers.
Right.
So I can ask them. Another request I've had is while we have them down, can we do some kind of videoing of the walls themselves, just as they're being cleaned, as they're cleaned and now we can see what, they're not underwater anymore. Let's take a look. Let's get some pictures and videos.
Water is a euphemism, I believe, in this particular case. It's a certain kind of water. So,
okay.
all right. Okay, any questions? All
Thank
I'll
you.
ask you offline. I have
Okay.
questions offline.
I like the Cliff Notes there, though. Thank you. We need to convene. Okay, and Any items you want on the future agenda?
Nothing.
No? Okay,
Was there, didn't you say last month about some,
I wasn't here last month.
or was it?
When we did the December
20th meeting.
Oh,
matrix discussion.
that item was removed from the agenda.
Oh, okay, that was, okay, so that,
Yes.
thank you.
You're welcome.
At their request.
Yes, Yeah.
Got it. Somebody saw the light.
yes, they did.
Very good.
Meeting adjourned.